Hello and welcome to pmclounge.com. Today in this video we are going over the estimate activity durations process. Where does this process fall? Where does it reside? And what do we really do in this process? That's the topic of the video. So let's get into it. Now, as always, whenever we discuss a process, we try to understand where we are in terms of the PGKA mapping. So this is the PGKA mapping. The knowledge area is project schedule management, and the process group is planning process group. By the way, we have already covered these previous processes: schedule management, define activities, sequence activities. We have already covered them. And today we are talking about estimate activity durations. So this is where we are in the PGKA mapping. The knowledge area is schedule management, the process group is planning process group, and this is where the process lies. Let's go ahead. So what do we really need for this process, right? When we say what do we need, we are talking about the inputs. Now, hope you remember the estimate activity resources process. This is something that we recently discussed as part of resource management knowledge area. I'll share a link to that in the description below so that you can refresh your memory in terms of what estimate activity resources is. But why do we need to learn about that process before talking about this one? It's simple because most of the outputs of the estimate activity resources process are inputs of this one. So they are inputs to the estimate activity duration process. So that's the reason why you should know about estimate activity resources process in the first place. A quick reminder here before we move further: pmclounge.com/resources. This is the link you can check out for our recommended books on PMP preparation. So what do we really do in this process? First thing is we check out all the activities in the activity list. So all the activities in the activity list, this activity list, by the way, comes from the define activities process. So I'll share a link to the entire playlist of schedule management knowledge area in the description below. So you can check out the define activities process and the output of that process. One of the major outputs is the activity list. So this list contains all the activities that are going to be part of this of any project, right? So that is an important input for this process, and we are going to check out all the activities that are listed in that list. Secondly, we consider the resource estimates. So this is the output from the estimate activity resources process. Remember, I just told you in the previous slide that you need to remember the estimate activity resources process for continuing with this process, because most of the outputs of that process are inputs to this one. So resource estimate is one of the outputs of the estimate activity resources process, which is an input which is used in the estimate activity duration process. Now, once you have the activity list and then you have the resource estimates, these are the two things you have. Now the third thing you need to do is you need to estimate how long it would take to complete an activity. This activity is basically in the activity list. So each and every single activity part of the activity list, how long will it take for you to complete those activities, to perform those activities, to finish those activities? And you already have the resource estimates with you as well, which means you already know what all are the resources that you need to complete an activity, right? So you need to estimate how long it would take to complete an activity. Now, how do you estimate that? So you have the list of activities, you know what all resources you need for each of those activities. How do you come up with the estimate of time required to finish an activity? This is where the tools and techniques of the this process come into the picture. Tools and techniques of the estimate activity duration process. So these are the tools and techniques. First, you have expert judgment. We have already discussed expert judgment. I'll share a link in the description below. Analogous estimating, parametric estimating, 3-point estimates, reserve analysis. These are something which we are going to discuss in our future videos. So keep an eye on the playlist of schedule management knowledge area. That way you will know when the videos for these are up, which will be in the next few days. And finally, the group decision techniques. So this is something which we have already discussed. I'll share a link to this one as well in the description below. So these are the tools and techniques that you use to come up with the numbers of how much time each activity is going to take to be complete. So once you have the time that you need for each activity to be complete, you have something which is known as the main output of this process, the activity duration estimates. This is the main output of this process. Now, you need to know that this can be in terms of hours, it can be in terms of days, it can be in terms of weeks as well. So when you're talking about large activities, umbrella activities like coding, it can be in terms of weeks. But when you're talking about smaller activities, right, let's say moving code from test environment to production environment, that is something which may take hours or probably a single day, right? So that kind of activity, the duration estimate can be in terms of hours or days, and for larger activities it can be in terms of weeks as well. Now, an important point to understand here is that you don't really need the exact numbers when you're coming up with activity duration estimates. It is acceptable to have a range. So you can say that coding will take 4 weeks plus minus 3 days, which means it can take 4 weeks and 3 days, or it can take 3 weeks and 2 days as well. So you can have your estimates in range as well. This is also acceptable. You don't have to, come down to the T and come down to exact estimates. It is okay to have range at this point in the project where we are. So that's all that we had in this quick overview video of the estimate activity duration process. Do hit the like button if you learned something, and if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when we upload our next videos. Remember, we are coming up with the tools and techniques videos for this process. And don't forget to check out the website pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP resource. This is where you will find articles. If you are into reading stuff, if you would rather read about estimate activity durations rather than watch a video, then go over to pmclounge.com. You'll find all the articles on almost all the videos that we have done as part of this YouTube channel. Thank you.